Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another read along with the Chattering Magpie and the Mischief. Hey, gang, how are you?
Hey!
Woo!
Hey, hello.
TGIF?
Menacing laugh.
Yes. Menacing laugh as you get warmed up for your role for today. Welcome, Crusher. It's been a while since you read with us, and I'm just overjoyed to have you here. And of course, overjoyed to have all of you who are watching on YouTube and who are joining me here on the Nest. Thank you guys for being here. So, today,
Thanks.
today is Friday. So I like to call it Ferdinand Friday. And we are continuing on with some more Bookworm content, at least unofficial Bookworm content. We're reading the fanfic A World Away. We are almost at the finishing line, you guys. And that is both thrilling, exciting, and a little bit terrifying. But, things are gonna start developing quickly in a little bit. But before we get to the events that lead to the climax resolution of the story, there's a particular day, a very pivotal day that happens where so I'm covering a lot of characters during this day, and so it's kind of split off into 3 chapters. And so today we're going to be reading the first of those chapters, titled Bells 1. So I hope you enjoy it. But before we do, let me just say hello to the people on YouTube. We have... First comment award goes to Liz Lepper. Liz, hey! Says, hey everyone, I hope you all enjoy the roller coaster ride of emotions. LOL. Don't tell them yet what happens. Well, she is hinting.
I want to story is a roller coaster, so
yeah,
it's not really a spoiler.
Okay, you're right. Okay, never mind. Yeah, tell them about the roller coaster of emotions, I suppose. I am trying to downplay a little bit the events that happen next. But for those of you who are following along with AO3 as the updates come, well, you have a better idea of why I'm chuckling nervously.
Yeah.
We also have...
If you like, what we're doing here, and you like this story and Magpie, please like and subscribe under this video. And if you want, join us on Coffee to come here on Discord and join us and talk and get banned.
Yes, thank you, Yukihime.
Get banned.
Get banned. Not quite banned. I haven't actually banned anybody, okay? I have not banned anybody. I have timed them out. You know, when a child misbehaves, you tell them, okay, time out. So I have timed them out. The first time, they were timed out at full 24 hours. And the second offense is the full week. Unfortunately, Discord gives me like 30 seconds, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, and then 1 week. So I'm like, isn't there like a little something in between 1 day and 1 week? So no, there's not. So, yeah.
They want the mischief.
Yeah.
I have to say that funny thought came to me for this chapter where Eckhart is gonna be present. You can unban Patrick and then ban him again after he done his role.
No, as much as you want to be a mediator and speak on behalf of your friend Yukihime, I know your ulterior motives. You have joined the dark side. I have seen the chat. I go through the conversations and I see that you have joined their ranks. So, no, I will not.
I tried my best.
Patrick, if you're hearing, know that we love you. We miss you. We hope that you're enjoying your time out and doing things that are not mischief making, and then that you come back to us in about what, Wednesday evening. His timeout will be done. Unfortunately, he'll also have to miss the read along for Wednesday, but we miss you. Thoughts and prayers, etc., etc. All right. Next, we had Crusher. Hello, Crusher. I see you were on the YouTube chat, and happy to see you here. And Teal says, "Late gang here." Well, you made it just in time, Teal. I mean, I was kind of getting a little anxious when I joined on Discord. There was only Yukihime and me, and I was like, well, if it's just you and me, we'll just split up all the characters. But slowly but surely, everybody came aboard, and I'm excited to say that I don't have to read a single role. Everybody has taken care of the things, so yeah.
Yay!
Yay! And of course, I'm so happy that Crusher came in because we needed a male voice to read Ferdinand, and he's going to be reading Ferdinand. Huzzah! All right.
Low key, I was sent by Patrick.
Okay. Well, you know what? I don't mind. Like, that's good. I see that Patrick is doing good work. Good for him. He's still not going to be unbanned or untimed out, but good for him. All right. Hirami asks, is Eckhart okay? Do you mean like Eckhart in the story or what? What do you mean, Hirami?
The story, like last chapter ended, yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Yes.
Yeah, Eckhart, watch out.
I forgot. All right. Yes, I wrote it and I forgot. Yes. So in the last chapter, since we're talking, I might as well do a brief TLDR of what happened. What happened, you guys? Myne read a letter from Eckhart. You know, things are going well in Aerofest. Among all the things that's happening in spring, she went back to her house and she got a severe case of homesickness, or at least, can you get homesick for a person? Well, Myne got homesick for Eckhart, and she was crying, and she discovered a letter that he left her behind, and she read it, and it just gave her a lot of peace. It also taught her how to use her his name stone. And, you know, she was like, I'm just going to send out Myne right now and send him my message. Unfortunately, at the time she sent him the message over in the Sovereignty, Eckhart was busy fighting off a beast or a monster of some sort. So he was momentarily distracted. And the last thing we know is when he came back to the bloodshed and the battlefield, he heard Eustace say, Eckhart, watch out, behind you, or something like that. And that was the end of the chapter. So yes, is Eckhart okay? We'll find out.
The thing that scared me when I read it very much was the fact that you kind of showed him like his life flashing before his eyes, something like that. And I mean, doing like the whole, I can see Myne with our child in the summer.
And in previous, so I was hinting in previous ones that something might happen, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. I think
horrible timing. She needs to be blessed by Dragoner.
No, she needs to not be blessed by Dragoner. Remember who keeps praying to Dragoner and gets horrible timing? Hannelore. So
Dragoner is not to be trusted.
Yeah, we don't like Dragoner. Please play your tricks somewhere else and with somebody else. So one more thing, there's no Eckhart in Bang Sing Se. Oh. Okay.
It's an Avatar reference. I know you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you watch Avatar The Last Airbender, one of the most amazing shows ever, you would know the reference.
I see. Well, I'm glad that all of you Avatar watchers, enjoyers, all of you cultured people are enjoying that little inside joke. Thank you for that. Teal. And then Crusher is asking Patrick where he's at. I believe though that Patrick did say that he's been working like overtime, so he's not going to be able to make it to the lives. So I mean,
Oh, same.
I mean, overtime is
Absolutely
awesome.
understand.
We will miss you and make that money. Make that money. Okay, we wish you the best and I hope you enjoy the replay, Patrick. We miss you and hopefully you will reconsider the next time you dare to vandalize the Ferdinand Shrine. Okay, let's get started, you guys. Chapter 109? Where's my chapter? Okay, yes. Chapter 109, Bells. Today it will be read. Myne will be read by Yukihime. Ferdinand will be read by Crusher. Eckhart will be read by Teal. Eustace will be read by Hirami. Feline will be read by Teal. Delia will be read by Delia will be read by Yukihime, and Rozemyne will be read by Hirami. And again, thank you to Hirami who highlighted this chapter. And let's get this started. Chapter 109. Bells. Zent Eglantine's Glittershide gleamed softly in the dim light of his hidden room, as Ferdinand finally put the finishing touches on the project that he and Rozemyne had toiled on for weeks and weeks. His fingers gently traced the golden filigree that made up the bracelet-shaped magic tool, before placing it in a velvet-lined box. Despite its delicate feminine design, reminiscent of jewelry a doting mother might pass on to her child, and despite it being an absolute sham that contained but the most necessary spells and circles needed to rule the country, Zent Eglantine's new Glittershide would grant her the power to reshape Smith's future and save it from impending doom. Anyone else would have been trembling with awe, knowing they held the key to unimaginable power and authority. But not Ferdinand. He had never been one to crave power, and the thought of stepping into the Zent's shoes, burdened with such immense responsibility, had always filled him with dread. He should have felt triumphant or relieved, yet as he gazed silently at the pretty trinket, he felt only a quiet emptiness. This was just the beginning, and with so much still to be done to secure the kingdom's fragile stability, any sense of accomplishment seemed distant. A soft voice broke his reverie.
Hold on now. About time.
Rozemyne's hands settled on his shoulders, gently kneading the tension from them. Ferdinand tilted back his head, blinking in surprise as he looked up at her. She smiled down at him, her fingers still working to smooth out the knots in his muscles. She had fallen asleep hours earlier in her reading chair, the book slipping from her hands and to the floor as she had drifted into slumber. Ferdinand had thought about carrying her to bed, but she murmured in her sleep that he might still need her help, and she'd insisted on staying.
Did you cover me?
She asked softly, her hands never pausing in their steady rhythm of his shoulders.
Of course, I couldn't let you freeze.
Ferdinand replied with a faint frown. This was a conversation they'd had countless times. She was a restless sleeper, always kicking the blankets off, and he always ended up waking in the middle of the night to cover her and tuck her back to his side.
Thank you,
she said, wrapping her arms around him with a contented little chuckle. She rested her cheek against his, and together they looked down at the finished magic tool on the work table. The multicolored face stone set into a deceptively delicate bauble gleamed softly from the box where it lay nestled in red velvet.
You designed something that would fit perfectly with Eglantine's fluffy, feminine style. I'm impressed. It's so pretty,
she remarked thoughtfully. Then, almost as if dismissing the magical tool they'd both spent weeks working on, her focus shifted entirely on him.
But most importantly, you've been going non-stop since yesterday. Do you have time to rest before you go back to the Royal Academy this morning?
Rest? Maybe a little.
Ferdinand murmured, closing the box and leaning into her embrace despite himself. He stifled a yawn as the weight of his exhaustion finally caught up to him. It also didn't help that Rozemyne, still warm from sleep, smelled so comforting, and her arms around him made it hard to resist the pull to rest.
"You've worked so hard. You deserve it,"
She said softly, temptingly. He shook his head and took a deep breath.
Finishing the book is just the beginning. Tomorrow's ceremony has to go flawlessly, and there are too many variables to consider. The archdukes and the other nobles, the sovereignty knights, not to mention the priests and all the rituals that need to be performed. I can't afford to stop now. There's no room for failure.
He gently tried to shake off her hold, pulling away to focus on the endless list of tasks still ahead. But Rozemyne refused to let go.
"You won't fail, Ferdinand.
She said with quiet, firm confidence.
You never do."
Her faith in him should have been reassuring, but instead a knot of unease untwisted in his chest. She had coaxed so much out of him, and, while her insights had been invaluable, part of him wished he hadn't gotten her so deeply involved. She hadn't been the least bit shocked about him giving power to a sham Zent, and had even suggested ways to strengthen his efforts. Together they'd crafted a ceremony meant to impress the nobles, ensuring that they'd recognize the legitimacy of their Zent. Her bold ideas, like turning Eglantine's moment of receiving her wisdom into an unforgettable spectacle, had led them to clandestinely add invisible magic circles, sound effects, and lighting tools in the auditorium, where the nobles would congregate, creating a breathtaking display at exactly the right moment. The whole thing was designed to leave an impact and would be nothing less than spectacular. Yet, despite all that, he couldn't shake the feeling that he wished she weren't so caught up in it at all. Ferdinand sighed deeply and reached up to cover her hands still resting on his chest with his own.
You should rest too.
He said, his voice softening.
You can't have gotten much sleep.
Rozemyne's lips quirked into a teasing smile.
That's not what you said yesterday when you...
What? I didn't.
His ears turned faintly red, and he sputtered in embarrassment trying to find his words, but only managing a grumpy murmur. She couldn't help but laugh, delighted by the sight of him so adorably flustered. Her heart fluttered at how different he was now. How, when they were in their most intimate moments, or when they were in his hidden room, he had opened up to her in ways that even the Ferdinand that she had left behind in Alexandria, her Ferdinand, hadn't yet. Without a word, she stepped around the chair he sat in and slipped into his lap. His arms immediately encircled her, pulling her close, and without hesitation he leaned in and kissed her. The warmth and tenderness of the gesture washed over her and thrilled her from head to toe. After all these weeks together, Rozemyne had received her fair share of kisses from Ferdinand, and she cherished each one. But by now she understood him well enough to recognize the subtle differences in the ways he kissed her. She had learned to sense what was in his heart, even when he couldn't quite bring himself to express it in words. This kiss wasn't rushed, nor was it urgent. It was warm, like an embrace after a long separation, full of unspoken affection. It was sweet, satisfying, and comforting. There was no pressure to escalate or intensify the moment. It was enough to simply be together, savoring the closeness without the need for passion to take over. Rozemyne drew back a fraction of an inch and smiled softly against his lips, caressing them gently with her own. She realized that despite everything he'd said, despite his insistence that he needed to get going, what he really wanted was for her to entreat and convince him to stay a little longer. Her heart gave a quiet pang. There was something about how this Ferdinand had changed, how the cold, severe man she'd first met had softened into someone so warm, so open with her. She couldn't help but marvel at the depth of affection and tenderness in him, which she had discovered after only a few weeks of intimacy and unbroken companionship. It was a side of him she couldn't wait to explore more once they were back in Alexandria, and they would have an entire lifetime of such loving to delight in. A lifetime free from the weight of her quest and the looming existential threat that hovered over them all. And, since she now had a devastatingly clear idea of all the hardships he had endured, alone, throughout the years that she had, no, sorry, and since she had, sorry, and since she now had a devastatingly clear idea of all the hardships he had endured alone, throughout the years she had half a mind to spoil him silly to make up for it. Yes, once they were in Alexandria, safe and warm in their palatial seaside home, she would do her darndest to help him forget the terrible things he had endured in this damaged weave. But that would be later.
Soon, just a little more.
She mentally shook herself and focused on the task at hand.
If you're going to the Royal Academy today, I can come with you. 2 heads are better than one, and I...
No.
He interrupted, his tone firm but not unkind.
I'll be out the entire day. I hate leaving you alone, but these are just meetings. Tedious procedures and temple preparations for tomorrow's ceremony.
He reached for her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers.
Once the ceremony is over and we're safely through the Archduke Conference, we'll have more time to plan for the future.
The future?
Rozemyne repeated distractedly, her mind already racing ahead to what she knew awaited them.
Our future.
Ferdinand said emphatically.
I won't keep you hidden forever, Rozemyne.
The sincerity in his voice made her heart twinge faintly. It wasn't just his words or his tone, but the raw, vulnerable way that he looked at her. Hopeful, earnest. For a moment her smile faltered, and it made Ferdinand's heart tighten with sudden panic. He feared, just for a split second, that she wasn't thinking of their future together the way he was. But then he remembered her promise that she wouldn't leave him behind this time, and he believed her.
Fine.
She said, her voice gentle.
But first you must rest.
She broke free from his grasp and, holding him by the hand, pulled him to stand, insisting that he go to sleep.
I can tidy up while you're away. I have nothing else to do anyway.
Ferdinand's eyebrow arched.
I'd rather you not reorganize my workspace again.
She protested, putting her hands on her hips.
It was only one tiny little vial which I put in the wrong place. One!
He brushed her aside.
And it ruined a perfectly good brew. No thank you. I'll do this myself.
Rozemyne huffed in exasperation. She didn't know, and Ferdinand wasn't about to tell her, that if he did it himself the task would be completed much sooner, and the sooner it was done, the sooner they could go to bed. Stubbornly, she still helped him clean up. They put away all the tools and carefully stowed everything in its place. When everything was in order, Ferdinand reached for the box holding Zent Eglantine's Grutter's and secured it safely in a cabinet where it would remain undisturbed for the time being.
Come,
he said, turning to Rozemyne, and extended his hand. She didn't hesitate to take it, and as a thank you, or as a small reward, he kissed her once more. Then, without saying another word, he opened the door to their hidden room. Together, they stepped out into his high bishop's chambers and collapsed onto the bed, both fully dressed, to rest for what little time they could. They were so exhausted that they didn't hear when, sometime later, Eustace came in and, peeking inside the curtained bed, discovered the two of them sleeping in each other's arms.
Dun dun dun!
Right? At least it wasn't Eckhart.
Yeah.
All right. This is a Eustace POV now. Once upon a time, Lord Ferdinand had been the model of punctuality, adhering strictly to a strict schedule. He was always the last to go to bed and the first to rise. But that was a long time ago. Since the latter half of the winter, his routine had grown unpredictable. Odd hours, long stretches of seclusion, and an air of distracted detachment had replaced the strict regularity he was once known for. Even Eustace and Eckhart, his most trusted retainers, were often barred from his chambers without explanation. Yet, despite his erratic behavior and the crushing demands of his responsibilities in the sovereignty, Ferdinand seemed lighter, happier even. It was baffling. Eustace had grown used to his master's erratic schedule by now, but both he and Eckhart often spent their evenings speculating about what might be going on with him. Leaning back in his chair one evening, swirling the dregs of his tea as he considered his master's recent behavior, Eustace mused out loud.
It's got to be a woman.
Eckhart, rereading another one of Myne's letters, snorted without even bothering to look up at his coworker.
A woman?
He shook his head.
We'd know. There's no way he'd be able to keep that from us.
Eustace frowned, reluctantly conceding the point. But still, a nagging feeling of unease wouldn't let him go.
Would we really know, though?
Eustace countered.
He's been sneaky lately. Those long hours locked away, the clothes he ordered. Woman's clothes. And my dad. Explain that.
Eustace had teased his master, accusing him playfully of having strange tastes and interests. But Ferdinand had refused to take the bait, offering no explanation whatsoever. Eckhart looked up from Myne's letter at last, frowning as he mulled over the point.
If there were someone, wouldn't it be her?
His voice dipped slightly as he referred to Myne, the object of his own affections. Eustace tapped his chin thoughtfully.
True, but...
He hesitated and shook his head with a sigh, dropping the subject for now. He had his suspicions, but he did not want to say more, especially about the odd things he had seen. Whenever he and the other Grey Priests tidied the room, he had discovered, on occasion, a faint scent of perfume that certainly didn't belong to their master. And once he discovered a strand of dark blue hair on the pillow, plus other small irregularities that, individually, were not remarkable, but taking all into account, were too impossible to ignore.
Someone's with your lords.
It was only natural for a man to indulge in flower offerings now and then. Despite his virtues, Ferdinand was still, after all, a man. But the secrecy was bothering Eustace. Someone could pose their lord significant danger, and Eustace was determined to get to the bottom of it. The day before the Archduke conference presented Eustace with the perfect opportunity to get to the bottom of things. Armed with an excuse that would surely require Ferdinand's immediate attention, he arrived at his master's chambers at an unreasonably early hour. He knocked softly once, then twice, before finally easing the door open. Fortunately, the first rays of dawn were beginning to filter through, casting a faint light into the room. He tiptoed toward the bed, and what he saw there stopped him dead in his tracks.
Lady Myne? But how?
Eustace's mind raced. His first thought was disbelief. How could she be here, in the sovereignty, when she was supposed to be in Ehrenfest, heavily pregnant with Eckhart's child? But then, a darker thought surfaced, one that made his stomach churn. It involved cruel, twisted magic, the kind he knew his lord would never, ever resort to. But There was a slight possibility that Ferdinand had been pushed so far by his heartbreak. Had he broken completely at last and lost his grip on reality? Had he truly performed those horrific rituals on a poor, devouring woman to craft his own Lady Myne, a stand-in for the woman he had left behind in Ehrenfest? Eustace shook his head vehemently, banishing the thought as quickly as it had come. His lord would never stoop to such atrocities, no matter how much pain he'd endured. But then, what was this? Why was she here in his master's arms, and why had Ferdinand kept it a secret from everyone? Frozen in place, overwhelmed by confusion and questions, Eustace stood for what felt like an eternity before Ferdinand stirred. His eyes opened slowly, locking onto Eustace with a cold, piercing gaze that sent a shiver down the retainer's spine.
Eustace,
Ferdinand's voice was low, heavy with warning, though still rough from sleep.
I thought I made it clear under no circumstances were you to enter without my permission.
Eustace swallowed hard, struggling to find his voice, for his master was as furious as he'd ever seen him.
Lord Ferdinand, there's been an assassination. Multiple ones. Here in the temple.
Ferdinand's expression didn't waver. He processed the information briefly before responding, his voice barely above a whisper.
I imagine Eckhart is already investigating and will report his findings shortly. For now, make yourself useful and prepare some tea.
The gray-haired retainer hesitated as his eyes flickered between his master and the woman still asleep at his side. But a single cold glance from Ferdinand sent him scrambling to obey without another word. Eustace's mind raced with questions as he moved into the adjoining room to gather the tea things. At least he didn't have to think too hard to complete the task. He could prepare a tea blindfolded with his dominant hand tied behind his back. When he returned, with a second teacup just in case, the bed's curtains had been drawn tightly, obscuring his view of the sleeping lady. Ferdinand, meanwhile, sat at his desk now, a picture of calm, cold composure in the grey light of the morning. However, his eyes flickered to the bed for the briefest moment before he turned his attention to Eustace and handed him an anti-eavesdropping tool.
Since you already know, I'll need your help with a small matter,
Ferdinand said, a trace of resignation in his clipped tone.
Tomorrow, no, tonight, you'll be responsible for a task, and you cannot fail me in this.
Second bell. The assassination of the Blue Priest sent shockwaves throughout the temple. Unfortunately, by the time the news had gone to Eckhart and Eustace, the word had gone around and panic spread like wildfire as the gruesome discovery of the man's beheaded body and the slaughter of his retainers left the remaining Blue Priests on edge. Who will be next? The unspoken question hung heavy in the air, haunting every corner of the temple. It wasn't too long ago that assassination attempts had been disturbingly common, as the temple had, for years, been a hotbed of schemes and corruption. But that had changed. Under Ferdinand's meticulous and decisive leadership, bolstered by the Zent's unwavering support, the temple had undergone a transformation. The radical elements that had once thrived in the shadows were systematically rooted out, and for the first time in years, the inhabitants had dared to breathe easily, convinced that the worst was behind them. But now, that fragile sense of security was gone. Ordinarily, such a matter would hardly been handled. Ordinarily, such a matter would have been handled internally within the temple, certainly not something to escalate to the sovereign knight's order. But this was no ordinary situation. The timing was critical, as was the role of the slain priest. As the custodian of the divine instruments, his duties had been largely ceremonial, supervising their movement and ensuring their care before, during, and after rituals. The true authority, however, lay elsewhere. The key to accessing the sacred relics resided solely with Ferdinand, the High Bishop. The intruders who had stolen the divine instruments, whoever they were, had taken the ones on display in the temple. These were mere copies, similar to those used in temples across other duchies, not the original ancient relics. But very few people knew that fact, even within the temple. The investigation into the priest's chambers had revealed a scene of chaos. Drawers overturned, scrolls and ledgers strewn across the floor. Yet the disorder was crude, almost careless, as though the intruders had been rushed, or were simply indifferent to the mess they left behind. To Ferdinand, who alone knew exactly what they had been looking for, the disarray was telling.
This wasn't a simple murder.
He said, his voice cold and deliberate as he paced the soundproof meeting room where just the three of them debriefed.
It was a statement from someone who knows what will happen tomorrow.
Ferdinand left the rest unsaid, as neither of his retainers, nor anyone outside of himself, Rozemyne, and Zent Eglantine's absolute closest circle, knew about the spectacle planned for the following day, or how Zent Eglantine would reveal to the gathered nobles that she possessed the Grutusite and, once and for all, establish the legitimacy of her reign. Eckhart stood at attention, his brows furrowed, as if it were... Eckhart stood at attention, his brows furrowed. If it were known that the divine instruments had gone missing under Ferdinand's watch, the fallout would be disastrous.
A statement aimed at you, my lord?
Ferdinand smiled darkly.
Not just at me. Yes, this was an attack on the temple and a direct challenge to my leadership. But more than that, it was a strike against the sovereign herself. The custodian was appointed by me, and I was appointed by the Zent. To lose the instruments now would not only undermine my authority, but also deal a devastating blow to Eglantine's reign. It would be seen as her failure, losing symbols of protection and stability when she needs them most.
Eckhart exchanged a glance with Eustace, who sat at the table, looking equally perplexed. Neither of them had the full picture of what Ferdinand was implying, but they both knew better than to question him outright. Eustace leaned forward, his tone cautious.
Do you believe they were searching for the instruments themselves, or something else?
Ferdinand's expression darkened further.
They were searching for something they cannot find, at least not without me. That much is certain.
He turned his gaze to Eustace.
Finish questioning the Greys and trace every individual who has had access to the temple since the start of winter.
Eustace nodded, rising to his feet.
Understood, my lord.
Ferdinand turned his attention to Eckhart.
Take this matter to the sovereign knights immediately. I'll inform Lord Consort Casimir to expect you. Despite his flaws, he knows exactly how to handle this. Tell them I'll discuss particulars during today's meeting. The news will be unwelcome to Zent Eglantine, but she must be made aware that there is a traitor in her ranks.
Eckhart straightened. He was well aware that his master and Zent Eglantine and her circle were plotting something. What exactly it was, he didn't know. But he didn't need to understand to obey his master.
Consider it done.
Clang! Clang! Off in the distance, the chimes of second bell echoed throughout Ehrenfest. Within the confines of the Linkberg estate, in her beautifully appointed chambers, Myne stirred under her covers and woke from her dreamless sleep at the faint sound of Delia moving about her chambers. She knew the routine well. Soon she would rise, bathe, dress, and take her breakfast before strolling through the garden. It would be another ordinary morning.
But why would I need to go to the garden when I have a whole field of flowers in my room?
Myne smiled at the thought, still cocooned in her warm bed. The faint scent of something sweet and familiar tickled her nose. Slowly she stretched and opened her eyes, her gaze sweeping the room, and she froze. Vases, bowls, and jars filled with yandewels were scattered across every surface, their delicate white blossoms glowing softly in the morning light. So, spring had come at last. Her heart swelled as she gazed at the flowers and inhaled their fresh fragrance. A contented sigh escaped her, and she rolled over, burying her face back into her pillow, intending to go back to sleep. She had been studying late into the night, and even after she'd finally gone to bed, she'd snuck in a few more pages from the book she'd borrowed from Dolores the other day, until it became impossible to keep her eyes open any longer. But wait! Her breath hitched. She sat bolt upright, the covers pulling about her waist. This wasn't a dream, was it? Her room wasn't just filled with flowers, it was overrun by them. Dozens. No, hundreds and hundreds of fresh, fragrant yandewels had arrived for her.
Oh, why?
Good morning, Lady Myne.
Myne turned to see Feline peeking into her curtained bed, a warm smile on her adorable face.
Sheesh, Lady Myne, you're finally awake.
Delia said, her tone dripping with exasperation as she entered the room with a vase in her hands.
What's the deal with Lord Eckhart sending all these flowers? Do you know how many trips he took to bring them all in? And don't even get me started on the castle attendants who delivered them. They practically scolded our ears off. Doesn't he know the meaning of moderation?
Delia,
Rosina said sternly, her disapproving gaze making Delia huff and mutter under her breath.
What's all this?
Myne asked, her voice still thick with sleep and disbelief. She pinched her arms lightly. The flowers remained. It really wasn't a dream. Rosina placed another vase of yandewels on the nightstand behind Myne, her movements graceful as always.
exactly as Delia said, my lady. The flowers arrived early this morning, along with a letter.
A letter?
Myne perked up, her curiosity instantly piqued as she watched Rosina place one of Eckhart's letters on the side table. At the same moment, she felt a gentle kick from the baby, as though it too was excited.
Oh,
She gasped, laughing softly, as she looked down at her belly.
she's awake now.
All three attendants turned toward her, their expressions lighting up with excitement. Even Delia, usually so prickly, softened at the remark. They had grown fond of hearing about Myne's baby and its growing activity.
Breakfast first, Lady Myne.
Rosina said with a knowing smile, cutting off Myne's attempt to reach for the letter. Myne scowled, pouting like a child caught sneaking sweets.
Rosina.
No arguments. Feline will prepare your bath while Delia and I tidy up and bring in the rest of flowers.
The rest?
Myne's eyes widened as she glanced around the room, noting how every surface, save for a small space on her vanity, was already brimming with flowers.
Oh, yes.
Rosina said with a soft laugh.
There's plenty more, lots more.
Delia snorted as she started rearranging the vases.
I still think moderation wouldn't have killed him.
But Myne wasn't listening anymore. Swift as stifle breeze, her arm darted out, snatching the letter from the nightstand with a triumphant
Ha!
She broke the seal in one swift motion, already scanning the lines of Eckhart's familiar handwriting.
Lady Myne!
Rosina gasped, her hands flying to her hips.
Oh, please, Rosina.
Myne said, her tone pleading as she tried her best to give Rosina an irresistible puppy dog look.
Let me read it just once. I can't stand the suspense.
Rosina hesitated, her expression caught between disapproval and indulgence. After a long pause, she sighed, shaking her head.
Oh, farewell. Just this once.
Myne beamed, clutching the letter tightly as she settled back into her pillows, her heart fluttering in anticipation. The faintest kick from her belly startled her, then drew a soft laugh from her lips. She placed a gentle hand over the spot, caressing her belly soothingly.
Hold on, darling.
She murmured.
Just this once. Let Mama have this. Then we'll have breakfast, I promise.
Eckhart's letter was, unexpectedly, on the light-hearted side. Lately his tone had carried a subtle edge of strain, stress that Myne could tell he downplayed for her sake. But today his words practically danced with triumph and pride. He recounted, in vivid detail, the near impossible feat of winning a game of Ditter against Lord Consort Casimir of Dunkelfelger and his entourage. The stakes? Among many other things, 1,000 Yandewels straight from Dunkelfelger. Eckhart explained how he discovered, through a letter from Lord Vicentius, that the prolonged winter and unseasonably cool spring had stymied the Yandewel's bloom all over the duchy, even in the southernmost regions. His own greenhouse had been a disappointment, yielding nothing but subpar blooms despite his careful tending, and no flowers could be procured for either love or money. Myne paused, her fingers trailing over his familiar handwriting. She let out a shaky breath, the meaning of the flowers flooding in her mind.
Felicitations on receiving Entridudge blessing.
Her heart squeezed painfully, and for a moment a wave of longing washed over her.
Oh, darling, of course you'd do something like this.
She murmured as the words on the page blurred through her tears.
You sweet, absurd man.
But time pressed. She sniffled, composing herself quickly, and continued to read. There was only a moment before Rozemyne would insist on breakfast, and she couldn't bear to leave the story unfinished.
For some time now, Lord Ferdinand has been pestered by Lord Consort Casimir of Dunkelfelger, who, like the rest of his ilk, has an insatiable appetite for Ditter challenges. Despite Zent Eglatine's explicit orders to refrain from such games, Casimir's persistence has been relentless, to say the least. Lord Ferdinand has, of course, declined every invitation, until recently. The turning point came quite by accident, spurred in part by an offhand remark of mine. I had been wondering aloud whether Landuins might have bloomed in Dunkelfelger, where winters are milder, and Lord Ferdinand suddenly looked up at what he was working on and suggested a way to procure some. I initially rejected his idea, but he countered that he suddenly had a need for some rare ingredients only found in Dunkelfelger for one of his projects, and it seems my comment provided the perfect excuse for him to accept a Ditter challenge. Though I was hesitant at first, I resolved to fully support him and ensure our victory. Lord Consort Casimir, overjoyed at Lord Ferdinand's apparent capitulation, eagerly agreed to the terms. As to the stakes, if we won, I would be able to claim the Landuons. By the way, I'm not the one who asked for 1,000 of them. If there's anyone to thank for it, it is my Lord Ferdinand. He also asked for precious ingredients for his research. However, if we lost, Ferdinand would be obligated to meet with Ob Dunkelfelger during the Archducal Conference, as well as participate in a treasure Ditter match against Dunkelfelger's best knights, something even he would rather avoid. Casimir, overly confident, made a critical error. He assumed the match would be a treasure Ditter. Ferdinand, ever the opportunist, noticed the contract lacked a specific Ditter type and declared it would be speed Ditter instead. In this version of the game, the objective is to defeat a Fey Beast as quickly as possible, rather than directly battling the opposing team. Bound by the contract, Lord Casimir had no choice but to accept, though he was visibly displeased. He had us go first. And so we were pitted against Rochwirtz, A monstrous fey-beast as tall as a man, with multiple arms ending in razor-sharp edges, capable of piercing Faystone armor. Its single, glowing red eye burned like molten fire, and its deafening roar shook the arena. Known to terrorize the countryside near the southern seas, this Rockwitz was both swift and deadly. I hadn't fought one since my academy days, but while I tried to recall the best strategy for its defeat, Lord Ferdinand was composed and barked out his orders. All throughout, he simply issued his commands with clear precision, and all I had to do was obey them exactly. However, there was a moment in which I admit I got a little distracted, and one of its arms clipped me. Were it not for Eustace's timely warning, the blow might have done real damage. As it was, I managed to roll with the impact and recover quickly. Lord Ferdinand, of course, did not miss a beat, and after I recouped, we went in for the final blow, which made short work of the Rockfeards. In the end, our victory was decisive and swift. The many knights watching roared and cheered in spite of themselves. I was never more proud to be fighting by my lord's side. Casimine's turn proved far less fortunate. He faced a Turnispa Fallen, a black, dog-like fey-beast that absorbs mana attacks and grows stronger with each strike. Despite Casimine's valiant efforts alongside his guard knights, the battle dragged on far longer than he expected. By the time the Turnispa Fallen fell, it was clear he had lost, much to the dismay of all who were in the arena. Zent Eglantine, unsurprisingly, was displeased with the outcome. However, Lord Ferdinand deftly shifted the blame onto Lord Consort Casimine, emphasizing how his relentless pestering had left us no choice but to accept the challenge. As always, Lord Ferdinand's sharp tongue and quick wit turned the situation to his advantage. I doubt we'll see more Ditter challenges in the near future, but what does it matter? The Landuins are now yours, and Ferdinand's rare ingredients have been secured. Myne, I confess that in the heat of battle, my thoughts wandered briefly, not to my own safety, but to you. You were calling to me, weren't you? I told you in the letter I left for you at home that I found a way to contact you if you ever reached out to me through my namestone. And here I am. I heard you, felt you. I could almost swear I saw you. Even as the fight raged, my sweet Efflorloom, there you were, so vivid in my mind that it was as though I could turn and see you. Every fiber of my being thrilled at the thought of you so near, and yet, I wonder if you sought me out because you were lonely and heartsick. Were you, Myne? Have you been feeling alone, even as you've been so brave and strong in your letters? I know there's so much you've been holding in, trying not to let it show. I can sense it, though. It has got to be scary for you, it being our first child. I confess I, too, am a little anxious and impatient to meet him or her. There's not a day that passes by that I don't have to fight against a wild impulse to fly to you both. But my love, my Geduld, my radiant goddess of light, I want you to know that I have secured assurances from Lord Ferdinand. When our first child is born this summer, I will be there with you. You will not face this alone. Whatever it takes, I will come to your side. Thank you for your courage, Myne, for being so strong, even when it's so hard. But you don't have to do it alone anymore. Please rest, knowing that we will face the future together, and no obstacle will keep me from you. Yugarise will not be allowed to spread her sleeves and dance between you and me forever. I promise, the next time we meet, and it will be very soon, I will come bearing an offering of flowers, the most beautiful, fragrant blooms you've ever seen. Yet no flower could ever compare to you, as no bloom could match your beauty or your sweetness. You'll open your eyes in the morning light, and I will be there, right beside you. Every day I ask for the blessings of Dulcetsen because summer cannot get here fast enough. Love you with the intense passion of Brenvarm, and I count the days until I get to hold you once more. Send me kisses in your reply. I will treasure each one as I treasure you. Your devoted husband, Eckhart.
Silent tears raced down Myne's cheeks as she pressed Eckhart's letter to her chest. Her lips curved into a soft, trembling smile. So this was love. It overflowed within her, a flood that swept away every care, painting the world in hues of beauty that she'd never known before.
My lady,
Rozemyne's pointed tone broke through the quiet reverie, jolting Myne from her thoughts.
Oh,
Myne sighed, reluctant to let go of the moment.
just once more. Let me read it once more.
Rozemyne arched a stern brow, arms crossing with practiced grace.
I shall inform Lady Aurora,
She said evenly.
No, anything but that.
Myne jumped, clutching her letter protectively.
But it's so hard to move these days. Help me, won't you?
Rozemyne exchanged an amused glance with Delia before both stepped forward to assist their mistress. Myne groaned softly as she stretched, her hands instinctively pressing against her lower back. But the stiffness lingered. The warmth of the bath was a welcome relief, the fragrant herbs and salts easing her aches. Myne sank into the water with a grateful sigh, her hands idly tracing her rounded belly beneath the surface. No one had told her how heavy and cumbersome pregnancy could feel. But it was worth it.
Your father is coming to see us soon, little one.
She murmured, her voice tender as she lathered the gentle soap over her belly.
It won't be long now, and oh, what a reunion it will be.
Turning to Rozemyne, her eyes sparkled with excitement.
We must prepare for his arrival. Let's buy all the falafolds we can find, and I'll need to speak with Ella. She has to make his favorite dishes. Everything must be perfect.
Rozemyne chuckled softly, her usual composure momentarily softened.
Lady Myne, I think what Lord Eckhart will care for the most is that you and the baby are safe. Perhaps that should be your focus for now. Summer is near here, and we've much to prepare for the little one's arrival. Let's get ready for today's meeting with the Gilbert Company.
You're right.
Myne conceded with a small laugh, tilting her head back as Feline poured warm water to rinse the rincham from her hair. Her thoughts wandered again to the letter she just read.
He's coming back.
Her heart swelled with anticipation, a warmth spreading through her that had nothing to do with the bath water.
Soon.
She sighed, already picturing his face when they finally reunited. And then she remembered that she had one person to thank for it. Ferdinand. Despite it all, he had been right. She hated to admit it, but she couldn't envision any other life for herself than the one with Eckhart at her side, with all the friends and family that she now got to call her own.
I guess I should write him a letter of thanks. Maybe it's time to let go of the past at least.
But the letter could wait. For now, Myne simply wanted to linger in the thought of Eckhart's return, letting it wash over her like the gentle ripples of warm, scented water around her.
Soon.
She thought again, her hands resting on her belly as she smiled, her whole being alive with anticipation.
Very soon.
End of chapter. Notes, wrapping up several storylines, but there are still a few loose ends to tie up. The next chapter, Bells 2, will pick up with Sylvester, the Royals, and more, including what exactly Ferdinand ordered Eustace to do.
Magpie, what is this? Like, can you just leave me alone to not cry for one chapter? I thought this chapter I will not cry, but apparently this chapter is also a crying one. The end. Close to the end.
By the way,
Amazing letter,
That-
Teal, and everybody else.
yeah, everybody did so good. Teal, you champ. Look at you reading the whole letter. I'm so sorry.
I need to know. I heard it.
Hmm?
I think I heard were you crying, Teal? I heard some emotion there.
I choked up just the slightest bit at the end.
Oh,
Yeah, I heard it.
But I was playing a man, so I couldn't cry. Just kidding.
Hey, men have feelings too. Let them express
I
themselves.
know that well. It's fine.
Alright, that tear was from Teal, not from Eckhart. Let's just say that.
Sure,
And also,
sure.
Teal, I need this emotional support here with this. Oh
Aw.
my god.
Mhm.
Yeah. Why do I do this to you guys? So sorry. But love is a beautiful thing, you guys. And yeah, I don't know. Like, love letters are the best. They're the best. I'm sorry. They're just the best. So I just went crazy, and yeah. So I hope you enjoyed those letters from Eckhart. And also remember that because everybody thinks that they're full of porn. Nobody's reading them. Yet, who would have thought that they were just filled with so much sweetness and stuff like that? I don't know. Just yeah.
I mean, if I was working on the office and I was obligated to read all the letters, and the letters were not just porn, but like pure love and devotion, I would be like, okay, I'm stuck in this office alone, single, and there are these two people flirting on the letters.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I get it. That would also be pretty sad. Imagine like a Daniel type reading those letters, feeling so bitter at life. Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, torturing Daniel is a pastime of Miyakazuki, and but you took it to the extreme.
Yeah,
Poor Daniel.
he's no longer around in this weeb. So I don't know. Not sure exactly where. Well, I know where exactly this is going, but I'm just playing like I don't know where things are going. We don't know what exactly everybody's planning. We know that we talked about in the first part of the chapter about the plans they have for Eglantine's Zant. What is it? The Grutursheid, when she will have her Grutursheid and present it out to the nobles. So there's plans for that. Then Ferdinand and Rozemyne are talking about the future. What do you guys think of that scene? Do you think they're both on the same page?
Ferdinand is sussy. Ferdinand is sussy. What is he planning?
Oh yeah, that thing
Yeah.
with Eustace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to read along for our next chapter. Speaking of read along and find out. So we finally learned what happened in the end of the final chapter, where Eustace was saying, "Eckhart, watch out!" So turns out he was clipped by the monster, but it was okay. It all turned out okay. I just wanted to make you
Scare
guys
us a little.
Yeah. Make you guys want to read the next chapter as soon as possible. It's something that one has to do when you read a fanfic. Put something at the end that will make people want to come back for the next one and thirst for more.
Yeah.
So I think, as far as I'm concerned with this chapter, the Soons, Fergie. By the way, Fergie, hello, welcome back. Happy to see you here and enjoy your quesadilla. Man, I want a quesadilla too, but I had a quesadilla yesterday. Oh well, I can have a quesadilla today too. No, so I'm happy to see you here, and I hope that next time you're able to join us. But yeah, you put in there soon, TM, trademark, of course. That's soon. Yeah. Given the fact that these couple of chapters, readers have said that it's kind of like final countdown situation, that soon. That soon is a little bit like.
I love
hmm.
the I love the narrative device that you used of like first bell, second bell, third bell. It's going down. It's oh my god! It's the most intense thing ever. Like I was like hearing the bells in my head when I was reading it, like boom, like the most intense boom that travels through your bones. You know, stuff
Yes.
the kind of bell.
Yes, I'm glad you.
Yes.
I'm glad you got the. That was the intent. That's what I intended for that. Kind of wanted to hark back to how in the celestial realm, time is marked by like the sound of golden chimes, and so kind of wanted to bring that to kind of tie it back. We already know that something is happening up in the celestial realms with Dragoner and Chaosifer, and stuff is happening. And we know that there's going to be a bloody blade somewhere, and we don't know. We don't know. But these chapters are leading us toward finding out even more what's happening or what's all that about. Hope you stick with me.
I have to. I have to mention when I said that I will not forget. The way you read the clang, it was the softest clang. It was so adorable. Please go hear it again because it was way too. It was adorable and soft and delicate.
Well, it's supposed to be like when something sounds in the distance and you just hear the echoes in the morning, kind of like ringing.
I just like the voice acting.
Yes, I did good bells. Clang.
Very interesting, and like I can only imagine that Justus is one step on the towering staircase, just meeting Ferdinand's gaze, like deathly gaze, like, what are you doing? Like, I told you to not come here.
I have to admit, you guys, when I wrote that part, I was really scared of Ferdinand. Like, I saw it in my head, I'm like, oh my god! Like, I wanted to jump back, like, I startled myself. When, like, suddenly I met, like, I don't really see things, but I feel the ideas, because I have aphantasia, I can't see things in my head. But just, like, the idea of, like, meeting Ferdinand's cold gaze, and you know you messed up. That scared me. So I hope it scared you too.
Yeah, very intense.
Now I have to get back to the chat to YouTube. I'm having a lot of fun talking to you guys, but I can't deny. I can't ignore the YouTube chat. I see Patrick has joined us. Hello, Patrick. Welcome. How's your time of reflection doing? Are you enjoying it? Enjoying the peace, the silence? We do miss you though. Happy to see you here. Time Lord Boy was also with us. He greeted us in a very interesting way, just said hell. And then he clarified hello, Crusher. Or at least I hope that was what it meant. Because maybe it was something I said and he was like, hell, like what the hell? No, I think he was greeting people. But where's my hello?
Typo.
Where's my hello? Time Lord Boy, are you still with us? Where's my hello? I resent
Magpie,
this.
you gotta say hello back.
I say hello back.
He's always in the chat. But like you need to type it into the chat. Hello, Time Lord Boy.
Hello, Time Lord. Fine. Hello, Time Lord Boy. Where is my hello? Jeez, I sound so petty. I'm kidding you guys. I'm only kidding you guys. I'm not this petty in real world. Either Time Lord Boy, teasing aside, happy to have you here. I hope that you continue to join us. Yeah.
She craves your presence, Time Lord Boy.
Yeah, hop on over to Discord. We'd love to have fun here and watch stuff and talk about stuff. You know how to do it. Get on, join my Ko-fi. I haven't shared my Ko-fi link in a while, so let me fish that out. Where's Ko-fi? Well, I have a Kihanis Kofi.
It is in the description anyway for
Oh yeah,
anyone.
it is. It is in the description. Yeah, so hop on over there. Join your magpie. Support your magpie. There you go. Become a member. Let's see. What else? What else? Justice for Patrick. Something about reading it again. Give Magpie all the likes and subscribes in protest. Thanks for reminding us. Yes, do like, subscribe, comment. Let's see. What else? No, I don't think the only person who's been put on timeout at the moment is you, Patrick. So no, Fergie's not timed out. Let's see. What else? Patrick says, Time Lord Boy is a bona fide lurker. Maybe he just left. He just wanted to drop on in and say hello. If you are watching though, Time Lord, happy to see you and happy to have had you here, even if it was briefly. Crusher says, for a mere 5 buckaroos, you two can troll your neighborhood magpie. Don't give them ideas. Crusher, I thought you were one of mine. Do not join the chaotic side. You're one of mine. Don't you dare betray me in such a terrible manner.
Oh, it's all good fun.
So let's see. Teal says, at the very least, we can't recommend Ascendance of a Bookworm enough. That's true. If for some reason you're here and you haven't ever read Ascendance of a Bookworm, first of all, wow. Second of all, go read it immediately. If you don't feel like reading a 33-volume series, then start the anime. It's really, really fun. And of course, you'll get to hear the dulcet voices of Sho Hayami, the Japanese VA, the Japanese voice actor, and Armin Taylor, the English dub voice actor. They're both amazing at their roles. Right. So next time we will be reading the second part of Bells, which covers. I forget who it covers. Hold on a second. Teal, you highlighted it, right? Or you were going to highlight? Do you remember who it covers?
For Bells 2?
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit with Sylvester and Florencia.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit with Myne getting clothes with Karina and Thule.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bit with Ferdinand and Rozemyne, I believe.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I remember now. So it'll be an interesting one. If you are a Sylvester fan, yes, we will have an appearance by Sylvester. So, yeah, but we will have that read along next week, Wednesday at around noonish. No, is it 4 o'clock? Wednesdays are 4 o'clock. Yeah. So Wednesday afternoon, we'll see you here. Probably by that time, Patrick will no longer be. We will be banned, but we'll see. Either way, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We will see you then. I'm looking for my. Okay, here we go. And again, before we end, just want to say a huge thank you to Yukihime, who read Myne, Crusher, who read Ferdinand, Teal, who read Eckhart, Hirami, who read Eustace, again Teal, who read Feline, Yukihime, who read Delia, and Hirami, who read Rosina. That was only 5 people, but it sounded like a lot of people. But everybody did amazing. Thank you for everything, you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Sayonara.
Happy Friday.
Oh, that's right. It's Friday.
Mm-hmm. Good times.
I gotta make my Friday meme.
Do it.